Heaving one down the sideline, and he's got Cass Allen over the top. Big side, down the sideline. Touchdown. His signature move and his signature performance. Allen, deep ball one more time. 58 yards this time.
You're listening to the Bruin Bible. This is your host, Will Decker, bringing you UCLA football content all throughout the year for LA Football Network.
What is up, Bruin Bible listeners? This is your host, Will Decker. We've got a very special sponsor to lead us off. We got BetOnline. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your baseball betting needs this season as it is officially opening day. Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll find the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at BetOnline as a whole. BetOnline is your baseball, basketball, football headquarters this season. Head to our website today and use our mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use your promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus pay. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now to the Bruin Bible. What is up, Bruin Bible listeners? This is your host, Will Decker. We are lucky again to be joined by my guy, Tracy Mcdannald, coming back. He was at UCLA football practice yesterday. I was once again unable to attend, unfortunately, due to being in the office. So I'm lucky to have a man with boots on the ground. He's my guy, Tracy Mcdannald, noted Cardinals fan, noted Angels fan, as we were just talking about before. How are you feeling, man, and how are you enjoying the start to this MLB season, especially with the pitch clock and shift elimination as a whole?
I actually like the pitch clock. You know, I like the breezy kind of games. I mean, I understand why they did it. I don't necessarily care for the way the Angels and Cardinals kind of started this season, but that's neither here nor there.
No, totally agree. I saw Ohtani pitch like a complete game shutout, or he went 7 innings, and it was like a 2-hour game.
Yeah,
pitch clock. I mean, it's been unbelievable, the turnaround. For my short attention span, it's kind of allowed me to get back into watching baseball a little bit more on television. So I've really enjoyed it. But that's neither here nor there, man. We are talking about our Bruins. You were at practice. I like to start at kind of the top with the most important positions. Our fans are clamoring to know what's going on with the quarterback battle. And to your credit, last week, you were saying Dante was the most impressive quarterback on the field from Tuesday and Thursday. We saw a lot of that at the Saturday open practice that I was at with my buddy Jamal Madney. How has he trended on Tuesday, and is there a better quarterback that you saw in practice on that day than Dante or Garbers?
So Tuesday's practice was a bit more low-key. It felt like the periods were a bit shorter than normal. The most competitive periods, usually that 20th period and that 18th period toward the end, they didn't go, like, for instance, some of the last couple practices, they've, backed them up a little bit, like let them try to go like 70 yards down the field and that sort of stuff. In this case, it was strictly 3 plays and you're done. They weren't really, moving the chains on first down and all that. But the most interesting part about those last 2 periods was only Dante Moore and Ethan Garbers took the field in those 11-on-11 sessions. The last that we saw of Colin Schley and Justin Martin were in an earlier 11-on-11, but it was, again, just, 1 series apiece. So it's always tough to figure out, okay, what's reality and what's just them scripting practice the way they do. But I think when you look into that, it's a little bit tough to say otherwise that, Dante and Garbers are 1 and 2 in whatever order.
Yeah, no, that's a very encouraging sign for the camp that wants Dante to start, because it looks like we knew those guys were the 2 guys kind of gunning for it, but just seeing Chip kind of come to that conclusion as well, being like, hey, these are the 2 guys that are battling for number 1 reps, and it's going to just end the practice with those 2 guys going out there. So loved what I saw. You were able to kind of see some of those drills. Was Garbers a little bit better than Moore, or was it the other way around for those last few reps you were talking about?
I mean, it was really kind of tough to say because, again, they weren't really given much to do as far as, stringing together a drive. You still saw some of that same stuff from Dante, where he had 1 pass where he looked off a defender and it was between a window of 3 defenders. He hit Jaden Marshall, no look, And you're just like, where did that come from? And he does it so effortlessly, you know. And then there were other instances where, he just made a smarter play where, he'll throw the ball away and he'll do it kind of nonchalantly. And you wonder, okay, did he, just miss his guy, or was that on purpose? And so he has a very, calm presence about him. He doesn't, get rattled too much, at least from what we've seen, especially with the way the offensive line is right now, the depth there, where the pocket is collapsing a little bit more. He hasn't really rushed anything. So I think that's the biggest compliment coming out of that last practice.
Man, it's so encouraging to hear what Dante is doing, man, just as a young 17-year-old, making those throws, using the different arm angles. It's clear that he was inspired by the generation of Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen's moving forward. Outside of Dante's impressive day, and it sounds like he's strung together about 4 straight practices where he's either neck and neck with Garbers or he's the number one quarterback. Who are some of the offensive skill players that impressed at Tuesday's practice? I know you mentioned Jaden Marshall catch you a touchdown. Anybody else stand out to you?
TJ Harden had some nice runs. There was an entire period dedicated to just, handing the ball off. So we saw a little bit more of TJ. He had a nice burst up the middle. Carson Steele had a nice one to his right. So, it seems like they're, keying in on that a little bit more. We'll see how much more of that we see come Thursday's practice. But I thought those two really had some moments there in that one period specifically. From a receiver standpoint, it was pretty much, as has been the rest of the camp so far. Kyle Ford and J. Michael Sturdivant, doing their usual thing. So nobody really, knew that jumped out. But again, it was more of a low-key practice anyway, where you didn't get those reps that were as competitive with the defense.
Gotcha. Yeah. Offensive line. It was a huge struggle at the Saturday practice I was at. I know Holsteed was out for Saturday, as well as Garrett DeGiorgio. Is DeGiorgio and Holsteed back yet? I haven't heard any of the rumors going around.
No. So we saw Holsteed kind of take the field a little bit for some individual stuff. And then he went, right back into the weight room and with the rest of the inactive players for the rest of practice. Same thing with DeGiorgio. They don't seem to be, moving around to the point where you're concerned. And Chip Kelly said of both of them, they weren't anything long-term. But there was another offensive lineman who, wasn't able to practice. Caleb Walker was the latest one.
Okay.
And then Saturday, I don't know if you noticed, but Noah Puleali'i, a reserve lineman, he was his arm was in a sling. I did ask about him. I don't know if Chip just did a kind of broad no long-term injury type of answer for all three, but we'll see if we see him at all, because I did not spot Noah at all on the field on Tuesday. So yeah, those remain to be seen, but it's just an offensive line that they're only going 2 deep at best, and that's kind of generous right now. So you wonder how much fatigue, and you also wonder if that played into some of the shorter periods that we saw on Tuesday. So yeah, that whole situation with the offensive line is one of those developing stories. It's probably one of the bigger ones of camp right now if they don't get any of those guys back.
Yeah, and you just want to assume that with how successful Chip has been in the transfer portal, getting guys like Latu, getting guys like Charbonnet, big name players. We got Raekwon O'Neal last year. Kadir Khan is on the way. I'm a little worried about the jump with him because Old Dominion to the Pac-12, I think, is a huge jump for that in general. Tell me about if you think Chip is willing to add some more linemen, given how thin the line is, evaluated at this point in time.
Yeah, they're definitely already targeting the right guard from Wyoming in the portal. So, I think it's pretty clear that they have to target some offensive linemen, and I think they will. It's just, right now it's a numbers game that doesn't favor them. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But that's definitely one area where if you were talking about immediate needs through the portal, that and the portal closes April 30th. So, they've got a little bit of a window here, and they got to get going if they're going to add anybody.
Yeah, totally agree. Would love to see some linemen added for UCLA. Knowing Chip is one of the best in the country at adding some transfer talents to the pool that he has with the UCLA Bruins. Defense. Let's talk about the defense. Just a quick update with them. Front seven, I think, has a chance to be the best under the Chip Kelly era. Given the return of Alatu, a guy that is one of the front runners for Defensive Player of the Year within the Pac-12. I've really been impressed with Toya and Keanu Williams. Keanu Williams, the new defensive tackle transfer from Oregon. You got the Murphy twins coming back. Heimlicher is like a depth piece they added as a defensive end. And then the linebacking unit, we talked about it last week. Oladeja has been a huge standout in camp so far. And the guy that I think is not being talked about enough, I think Darius Muasau has a chance to be an all Pac-12 linebacker. He's been one of the fastest players on the defensive side of the football in terms of locating the football, making the plays. And, he's picked off passes in practice. He's had tackles for a loss in practice. He's calling out plays in practice. Like, this guy's doing it everything. And you can see just the jump from year one to year two in this Ken Norton linebacking system. Give me your take on the front seven in case if I missed anybody. But I'm really high on these guys and think they could be really special.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very disruptive group. I think that's fair to say through the first 3+ weeks. And I think the big thing you're going to see is if they can put constant pressure on opposing quarterbacks, you're going to, the defensive backs are going to be helped out by that. Because if, you got an opposing quarterback who's under pressure on the run or anything like that, they're more susceptible to make mistakes as opposed to having all kinds of time to, pick apart the secondary. So I think that's why you saw, a guy like Latu come in and do as well as he did, because they really made pass rush a focal point last year. And I think you're seeing that even more now with, guys like Keanu Williams helping out in the interior. And then a guy like Oladeja, kind of solidifying that middle with Darius. And I think you're going to see an even more formidable middle of the defense there, where it's not just, Darius having to do a little bit more than you'd probably like. You're going to have somebody who, racked up 91 tackles at Cal last year, who can hold his own and as well as be an imposing presence there in the middle.
Love it, man. Any secondary notes? Anyone stand out from Tuesday's day of practice from the secondary?
I think, again, it's kind of tough because those periods of practice were a little bit tougher to judge, but you are seeing them stay with the receivers a little bit more. And I think it goes back to what I was saying about, the front being so disruptive. I've been really impressed with a guy like Isaiah Newcomb. He has a kind of an edge to him. We've seen him now a couple of practices stand toe-to-toe with Kyle Ford, and they've exchanged words and that sort of thing. It's all in good nature and friendly competition. But, just having somebody like that who's, again, got a little bit of edge to him that just adds a little bit of that you need in the secondary to, kind of maybe mess with opposing receivers a little bit more than they did previously. And, he's provided some nice coverage over the last few practices. Devin Kirkwood's had a couple moments here and there where he's recovering from that wrist injury. And if he's fully healthy, then, you figure he's going to be near the starting lineup with the cornerbacks as he was last year. Because right now it's been a 3-man rotation with himself, Jalen Davies, John Humphrey, that we've seen that kind of one alternates between the first and second team. So, they've got some options there. And then obviously they're still waiting on a guy like Jordan Anderson to come in from Bowling Green.
Is up, Bruin Bible listeners. We have another advertisement for you. We are so lucky to be sponsored by the great people at Athletic Greens. I started taking Athletic Greens specifically because I was lacking energy, lacking focus throughout the day, and needed some special pick-me-up ingredients to make things happen in my life. Athletic Greens has done just that. I've become absolutely addicted to the process. It has over 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source ingredients, probiotics, adaptogens to make your life easier by doing this during the day. I like to take it to start my mornings off. I like to do it before a workout. Makes you feel energized, focused, and just have a lot more energy throughout the day than I typically expected. But right now it's the time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every single day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/LAFB. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/LAFB to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Athletic Greens, a game changer when it comes to your health and your focus and your mindset. That's going to be really exciting. I'm going to kind of put you on the spot here with a couple questions. First, but before I get to that, I know you are meeting with, the coaches and, the players that are being interviewed after practice. Have you gotten to talk to D'Anton Lynn, and have you talked to some of the players about how they're reacting to the new defensive coordinator being the building for UCLA?
Yeah, D'Anton Lynn, he met with the media, I want to say after the third.
That's
I want to
nice,
say
too,
maybe during.
Jerry never did that. Jerry Azanaro was not.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
And yeah, but he did. I want to say it was maybe the third week of practice. From what we've gathered from the players, and D'Anton hasn't been too open with sharing exactly what kind of wrinkles he's bringing in, but a lot of it's a lot of the same. That base 4-2-5, and he's just putting his touch on it, and they're still installing and that sort of thing. So we haven't even really seen exactly what this defense is going to look like. I tried to ask him, to pull back the curtain a little bit and give us an idea of what it would, what a defense under his direction looks like when everything's fully installed. And, he mentioned, your basic stuff about a sound defense and that sort of thing. But from what Chip said and what some of the players have said, he just brings a fresh perspective, new ideas to it. I think Kenny Churchwell may have offered the most when he talked about, how far some of the defensive backs were playing off the line last year and how that's maybe going to change a little bit with D'Anton Lynn running the show. So, it'll be really interesting to see how this all takes form and what the on-field product looks like come the opener against Coastal Carolina.
Amazing, man. And I'm going to finish off with this 2-part question that I'm excited to get your answer for. One, we're going to repeat what we did last time. 3 players that stood out at spring practice to Mr. Tracy Mcdannald. And the second question I got for you is 3 storylines that you're most excited for UCLA coming into the season.
As far as the standouts, I mean, again, Dante kind of is becoming a regular in that regard. It's just those throws and those instincts I alluded to earlier. I'd say Toya. He's really just like, I don't know if it's helping just with having a guy like Keanu Williams right next to him. And we've also still seen David Magna also next to him for some reps, but it just seems like he's going to up his game to a different level if the defense pressures quarterbacks the way I think they're going to. And then a third, I mean, I'll probably say Devin Kirkwood.
Nice.
He batted away some passes. Again, he's staying with his man a little bit more than we've seen in the previous couple of practices. And, him and the receivers are kind of going back and forth. So, I think those 3 had a pretty solid start to the week. As far as storylines, I mean, the obvious one is, when a quarterback gets announced, and does that quarterback stick? I think the second part of that is the most important. I think we talked about it the last time where, you could conceivably see Ethan Garber start the season. The question is, will he finish the season? Or does Chip Kelly turn to somebody like Dante Moore from day one? And what will that look like? And what will his leash look like? Should he, struggle or anything like that? And then for the defense, I think the big storyline is, will they get off the field? Third down and also fourth down. I was looking at, some of the numbers over the last back half of the season. Opponents were converting 70% on them on fourth down for the season. And, they just were not afraid to test them if they were within 3 yards. and they didn't have any reason to fear them. So seeing how much pride they take in on that aspect, and what Dan Hunling brings to that, those situational kind of drives and everything like that, I think that'll be a really big focal point. And then I want to give you one that maybe a lot of people aren't really thinking about, but I think something that was kind of apparent when Casimir Allen wasn't returning kicks. It's that starting field position. Again, I was looking at some of the numbers, and he was averaging more than 24 yards per return on kick returns. And then when he was missing, I mean, it was down below 19 yards when you were splitting it between Jaden Marshall, Keegan Jones, and then Titus Mokia to Malala. So, those three, again, are going to be in the mix. And we've seen, guys like Carson Steele and J. Michael Sturdivant back there. So, maybe they're still trying to figure out who exactly is going to be back there. But I think that starting field position is going to be really big, especially if you've got a young quarterback. The shorter he has to go, the better, So I think that's one area where, again, you won't really notice it until come the actual games and what it all looks like. But that'll be something to see just how much different it looks now that Casimir Allen's not the regular kick returner.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, man. That's a great point. We're going to need some explosive, players on the kick return team. Tracy, great to see you as always, man. You killed it. Really happy to have you on. We're always willing to have you back on if you're interested. Bruin Bible, make sure you're liking, subscribing to LA Football Network, the YouTube channel, our podcast as a whole. Big things are coming this year, guys. Make sure you're tuning in, and have you guys have a safe night. Take it easy.